Okay, welcome back to Recovery from Addiction Resources, the alcohol, nicotine, and drugs team from Health Done Right Coalition's second interview. Today, I am Nicole, and I'm a Menominee resident interviewing my friend Lynn, who I've actually known for years. And Lynn and I have gone through different paths and we keep coming back together. So again, it's valuable to have people on our paths that we can work with and stay connected to. So Lynn, I wanted to bring you to this venue so you could share your experience with recovery and such with some people. Can you kind of introduce yourself and what you're doing these days?
Sure. So my name is Lynn McLaughlin. I am a person in long-term recovery. I am a certified peer specialist and a trainer for the state of Wisconsin. And as I look at all of the twists and turns that my recovery has taken, one thing that has always stayed constant is connecting with my peers, whether that is in a mutual aid group such as 12-step recovery or different learning opportunities around addiction and mental health and trauma, all of those pieces. And also just surrounding myself with peers and staying connected to people that understand where I'm coming from and have not necessarily the same path, as you said, but similar paths where we can come back and say, this is what I've done and it's helped, and I can decide if that's something that would be helpful for me too. So it's always been about people and connection.
Wonderful. Thanks, Lynn. So currently, what are you doing? Are you just interacting with the community, or what are you doing for your recovery today?
It's really broad. I do a lot within the peer specialist movement, whether it's communities of practice, which is an opportunity to connect with people that provide support to other people in substance use and mental health. So I do a lot with that. And what's beautiful about those circles and any recovery circles is I can show up authentically just as I am. In another piece that I train is emotional CPR, which is helping a person through crisis. And in that, I have circles of support too, where I love that I can show up and just say, you know what, I'm having a really bad day, instead of showing up and going, everything's fine, because the reality is life is never always fine. And I surround myself with people that I can show up and show up however I am, whether that's, having a good day, a bad day, or anything in between. So that's a huge piece of my recovery today, is connection with peers.
Okay. Excellent. And do you mind taking a look back at how you recognized you had a problem with drugs and alcohol, and what kind of helped you to deal with that, or how you got there?
Yeah, I can share part of my story. I don't think, for me, in my recovery, one of the most important pieces was not to look at my recovery journey just from the point of the first time I started using drugs and alcohol. I needed to see the whole picture to be able to understand where my dependency came from. And for me, I grew up in a middle class family. It looked great from the outside. If you were to see my family in public, it looked wonderful. And behind closed doors, there was emotional abuse and physical abuse and sexual abuse. And for many years, it felt like I was leading a double life. When I was out in the community, I was told put a smile on your face, even though when I'd get home, it would be really, really hard. So I learned kind of how to divide myself, for lack of a better term, and show up out in community, being really, really happy, and then going home. And um, it became harder and harder to go out into the community with a smile on my face the longer my abuse happened. And it happened from the age of 4 until 12.
Mm.
And at the age of 12 is the first time I started drinking. And what I recognized was it wasn't so hard to face life when I was numb. And that's what alcohol provided for me, was that shutting down of my pain, if even just for a little bit.
Mhm.
And because I recognized that it shut down my pain, I needed more of it and more of it and more of it to keep that pain at bay. Um, I recognized it's really funny. I've been in recovery a really long time, and I I can't think of a time where it was like, at this moment I need to stop using. Um, it was more, I don't want to hurt anymore. And so I started, and I'm grateful. I had access to resources as far as therapy and insurance and just all of the things that helped me get into recovery. So I did a lot of outpatient therapy um, that started with some of the alcohol, but then got into the trauma. And I also, I don't know how I heard about 12-step recovery. Like, it wasn't something that I called and they told me to go to 12-step recovery, but I knew it was a resource. I don't know. I don't know why or where, but I remember going to my first meeting and sitting there terrified, because I had always felt really, really alone. And I had that feeling of, if anybody really knew me, um, they wouldn't want me around. I changed friendships constantly throughout my life because there was always that fear that someone would see what was really deep inside me. And but something kept me going. There was an authenticity in the meeting and that connection point in the meeting, that helped me understand that they knew something that was similar in me and them. Um, so I did 12-step recovery for quite a while. I had a sponsor for quite a while. I still have a sponsor friend. I call her more of a friend because we help each other. And I don't know, there was something about the terminology of sponsor that I was like, no, I don't need another person telling me what to do. I need to figure that out for myself. And she actually was the first person ever in my life that said, Lynn, trust yourself. If something doesn't feel right, trust yourself. And if I were to, sum up my recovery in just a few words, it would be kind of what I said in the beginning. It was the opportunity to be able to say out loud to someone, I was abused as a child, and not have them run away or say, it couldn't have been that bad, Lynn, look at your family. It was someone, my trauma has always healed when someone heard what my reality was and accepted me and didn't judge me and didn't invalidate me and didn't dismiss me, but said, that sounds hard. Um, and that's in recovery. Those are the kind of people that are in my life today. I had a friend recently talk about recovery is really, when we think of pathways to recovery, it's really pathways to a meaningful life, because I look at the opportunities I have in my life today to share my story and share who I am and what I'm about, and then to hold space so people can tell me who they are and what they're about and not judge it. In my addiction, I made a lot of mistakes. I've made mistakes my entire life, not just in this one period, but being able to say, oh my God, did I screw that up? And have someone not run away from me because I was defective, because that's what it felt like. Like I was defective. And the reality was I wasn't. I was trying to navigate some really deep pain. And finding that balance between what was really mine and what wasn't. And the trauma that happened to me wasn't mine, but I made a lot of mistakes, and being able to say, I'm sorry, and being able to say, you know, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. All of those pieces of re-embracing who I am as a human being has been like such a beautiful part of what recovery is.
Mhm. Thank you. You kind of covered my next two questions. um, and
Try me.
that's okay. um, let me sort through my thoughts now. 'Cause,
Well,
uh,
like I said in the beginning, I think the most important part is connection.
yeah.
You know, when I went to meetings, and I am still like this. A lot of people think I'm an extrovert, but I am very introverted. When I am with a group of people, I don't normally speak first. I kind of wait and see what's happening. And um, for people that are looking for help, knowing that that's okay. We
Mhm.
all have um, moments of uncomfortableness, and know that we're all in the same boat there, you know.
Yeah.
But giving it time and a chance to connect with someone and be able to say, you know, what's really going on with you. That's recovery to me, is those kind of spaces where you
Mm.
can, and whether that's peer support, you know, I'm very grateful I get to provide that space for others as a peer specialist. And do that one-on-one. I also facilitate groups, and the groups are fabulous, because although I'm there as a person in recovery and a peer, they get to learn from each other. And I just sit there and watch this wisdom come. Well, I did that. I tried that, you know, and it's that deep connection again that I mean, that's at the heart of it in all of the pieces of recovery, all the way along, whether that was with a counselor or a group or an individual or a sponsee or a mentor, or, you know, that's always been the heart of my recovery, has been connection.
And from just because, well, from my own experience, I know that that a lot of times is the slow connection. Like just getting started with something like that is what makes it hard. Um, but finding people who are willing to be in that space and um, maintain it I want to say sacred, but that's not really what I mean, but people who really honor that for people, and don't expect um, people to recover in a certain way or a certain progress or whatever. But I I do want there's two questions that came to my mind in that last little blip. One is, are you still doing 12-step recovery, or is that kind of something you've moved away from? Or
I moved away from it
okay.
probably 10 years ago. I've been in recovery 19 years.
Mhm.
And I found, for me, there were things that didn't align with who I was becoming. I was changing and growing. My understanding of what my substance use was, and how it was defined, um, changed. And that was there was some really uncomfortable moments in that.
Mhm.
And again, finding people to connect with.
Mhm.
And that, like I said, that's been the constant, is there have always been people to support me no matter where I was going. And sometimes I had to seek that out. You know, I had to find, I needed to be willing to take risks and get uncomfortable. And it was okay if I didn't connect with a group and could walk away. And it was okay to give it a few months to see if it worked and if I connected with someone. Yeah, today it's more about peer relationships. And when I think of who are my peers, they are peers that have similar lived experience, whether that's substance use, mental health, trauma, all of those pieces of Lynn. And sometimes it's just human connection. You know, someone has gone through trauma different than mine, whether that was a car accident or something, and just recognizing all the emotion that comes along with it. And it's all valid. I didn't experience it, they did. And so, yeah, I did 12-step for many years. And in order for me to keep growing, I needed to get more uncomfortable and take more risks and
Okay.
expand.
I wanted to touch on that because I am a long-term 12-step member, but it's not the only way to do it. It might be a good way to get started, and maybe that's, the inroad for someone to get away from the escape that they're living in. If they need help, that's 12 steps are there to help people, but that's not the only way to do it. And that was the main reason I wanted to bring that up. But you also mentioned peer specialists, and I wanted this video to kind of highlight that as one of the resources for people. And our action team for Health Done Right is focused on alcohol, nicotine, and drugs. So obviously, peer specialist is going to have a broader scope. But if you don't mind just kind of giving a rundown of what that is and how someone could get started with it, basically. So if you don't mind.
Okay. A peer specialist is someone who identifies lived experience, mental health, substance use, or both. There is a training through the state of Wisconsin. Majority of peer specialist work is contracted through counties as CCS providers, which is Comprehensive Community Services.
Thank you.
And what I love about my role as a peer specialist is I'm not there to fix anyone. I'm not there to tell them what their recovery needs to look like. I'm there as that connection point, as that person who will walk with someone when it feels a little scary, when you're trying something new, or will help them find resources. I have a friend who is a peer specialist, and he does a lot around music. And, when we are in substance use, we lose our joy places or our passion places. And he has connected with a bunch of people that love music and, people that played guitar, and he pulls them all together, and their recovery expands huge because they're back in touch with that. And I think that's the role of peer specialist, is just to help a person figure out the life that they want to create or the direction they want to go. It's all about walking with someone, supporting them, and advocating for them.
Okay, thank you. I happen to know because I just got certified, but anyway.
I
know. I lost track of our time, but I'm pretty sure we got a good amount of interview going here. So is there anything else you'd like to tell the Health Done Right community on what they can do to recover from alcohol, nicotine, or drug addiction?
Know that you're worth it. Know that feeling of being alone and no one understands and no one could possibly help or would want to help is part of I was going to say part of the problem, but it's not part of the problem, but it's what what the alcohol did to my mind,
Mhm.
was create just that incredible separation and know that you're not alone. Know that there are people that understand what you're going through, and also understand the incredible courage it takes to say, I think I need help with this. Um, and yeah, how scary that can be. We've all been there, and like I said, recognize the courage it takes to say, I can't try to do this by myself anymore. And the reality is, connecting with other people, you still end up being able to do it yourself, but they believe in you.
Mhm.
And that's the beauty of recovery, is there's people to walk with instead of that feeling of being alone.
Thanks, Lynn.
Yeah, thank you
All
for
right.
having me.
I'm gonna Zoom recording. So just to round out this interview, I just want to say that the Health Done Right Coalition does have a website, Health Done Right, Dunn for the county, Dunn, right.org. And there's a community resource guide right at the top of the screen. You click on that and you get a list of resources for different topics. Alcohol recovery or addiction recovery is right at the top because we know how important that is. So I want to thank you all for spending this time with us, and hopefully we'll see you on our next interview. All right, how's that? Stop.